you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz! And I'm here to review the 1984 political drama Secret Honor starring Philip Baker Hall, directed by Robert Altman. So the thing that would probably make the most sense when discussing this movie in the beginning is to talk about Robert Altman, his illustrious career, the great amount of films that he's made, but the absolute honest truth is I'm kind of lacking on his movies. I think I've seen one of his most popular films and a bunch of his less celebrated films. I have seen, of course, Nashville, and I thought Nashville was really good. I've seen Dr. T and the Women. I don't know if you guys remember that one. That was with Richard Gere as a gynecologist. Really? And Prairie Home Companion, which I remember bits and pieces of. I haven't seen Gosford Park, and I haven't seen other movies that he's done. And I also saw parts of Popeye, which really was not a great idea. That was a weird one. Maybe one day I'll watch that in full, but I was like, oh, I don't know about this. This is my fourth Altman film, technically, so I really can't talk about him definitively because I haven't seen his best work, or most of it at least, and the others I've seen aren't the ones that are celebrated. So, but what I can talk about is films depicting Richard Nixon as a character. I've seen a good number of these, and the ones that I have seen before this are, check this out, Frost Nixon, Nixon, Dick, and Black Dynamite. Now, I'm going to take out Black Dynamite because it's just a cameo, and although it's pretty funny, it's like just a few seconds. If I were to say what were the best interpretations or performances of Richard Nixon, I think you'd be kind of surprised. Number 3 is Anthony Hopkins in Nixon. I love Anthony Hopkins. He's a great actor. And he plays the part well for what happens to Nixon, but you really have to stretch to realize that this is Richard Nixon you're seeing. Like, he just doesn't have the physical performance that I think you would need, or really the look that he would have to portray Nixon. So that was one weird one. Number 2 is Frank Langella for Frost Nixon. Like Anthony Hopkins, he looks nothing like Richard Nixon, but I think he gets the cadence, the voice, and everything down better than Anthony Hopkins did. And I think for this specific story, he portrays Nixon really well. And number 1, surprisingly, is Dan Hedaya and Dick. And there's a couple reasons why. I think Dan Hedaya really gets the mannerisms and the facial expressions really well done for Richard Nixon. I know that sounds incredibly ridiculous, but trust me, it actually is very good. And even I have to admit, the absolute silliness of the movie makes the performance more endearing, that Hedaya is taking it so seriously, and yet there are scenes where one of the characters is daydreaming about having a romantic relationship with Richard Nixon. It is so absurdly ridiculous, but it's hilarious to watch. You might be hearing me going, oh yeah, Dan Hedaya is the best. Be like, oh, okay, bro, yeah, I'm going to just unsubscribe right now. But trust me, if you check out Dick, although honestly, it's been a while since I've seen Dick, so I'm probably looking at that with rose-tinted glasses a little bit. That's something I should watch again, honestly. I should definitely check out Dick one more time. Man, it's going to take that out of context and make me look really silly. But anyway, I think Dick is good. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to pay for that one, aren't I? All right, so let us get into the review of Secret Honor, directed by Robert Altman. Before we do that, let's get into the plot. This film is set after the resignation of Richard Nixon. He is in his own personal study in New Jersey. He has a tape recorder, some whiskey, and a loaded revolver, and he basically records his rants and through the guise of trying to have a recording defending himself from the court of public opinion. And that is basically it. He kind of records his justifications about the history and his life, his political career, and what happened at Watergate. This is a fictionalized account, so this probably never happened. So just to keep that in mind, I don't even think it's historical fiction because there is no proof that this actually happened. But this is definitely fictional, but it's about a real-life character, a real-life person, I should say. All right, so let me get into my 3 points about Secret Honor. And the first point is it's probably the best performance of Richard Nixon in Philip Baker Hall. I mean, yeah, it really is a really good performance. And it's a performance that has to be incredibly good because he's the only thing you're seeing for 90 minutes. This is a one-man movie. You are only seeing Philip Baker Hall. You might see the camera pan away to a picture or a monitor or an item in the study, but you're only watching Philip Baker Hall as Richard Nixon, and he nails it. He is really good in the performance. He gets the mannerisms, the way that Nixon looks, the way he speaks. He's utterly believable as Richard Nixon in this. Does he have the look down 100%? No. But I think as a performance, it's probably the best you're ever going to get when it comes to Richard Nixon. Number 2, it's an interesting portrait of regret and paranoia. Now, I'm going to put regret in like parentheses because as much as he shows some remorse and regret, he automatically, in the next breath, tries to justify what he did. But also, I think the paranoia is what is much more prevalent throughout the entire film. And it's really interesting to see the gradual mental decline from someone who's trying to make a cogent argument to just slipping and slipping and slipping into absolute paranoia with the help of alcohol, of course. It's definitely a performance piece film where if you want to see a really good performance of an actor who is just gradually shifting character and focus throughout the entire film, it is definitely one to see. So I guess this is another one about Philip Baker Hall's performance, so there you go. And my third point, you may need to know more than the basics to fully appreciate the film. I do like the film. I think it's a very good film. But even I had to admit that there were certain things that were lost on me, and not because I thought they were confusing, because I didn't have the requisite knowledge to know about specific names, certain events, things like that. So I thought you can come into this saying, well, I know about Watergate, I know about Nixon, I know about a few things about Spiro Agnew, stuff like that. But then when he starts talking about specific people and specific events, I kind of was like, oh, I think I need to know more than that. Maybe some might not need that to just appreciate the film for what it is. But I think to get a full picture, you may need to know a little bit more than just the cursory elements of Watergate and Nixon. So you can still watch it and enjoy it. I still think you could, but you may not get all of what the film is giving you if you don't have that knowledge. So keep that in mind. Who do I recommend this for? I recommend this for people if you like political drama. I mean, God, if you are into political dramas, especially of real-life politicians and presidents, I think you should definitely check this out. It's definitely a interesting take on this specific president. And also, if you are into a different type of story, this reminded me a lot of one of my favorite films of all time, which is My Dinner with Andre, where My Dinner with Andre is about two people in one location talking, and this is about one person in one location talking. Both are fascinating in different ways, but I have to admit that this reminded me a lot of My Dinner with Andre in certain elements. Who do I not recommend this for? I don't recommend this for people if you don't like politics. I mean, yeah, this is about a politician. It's about politics. If you roll your eyes at politics, you don't like politics, you already know. You're not watching. I would also not recommend this for people if you prefer to have a more standard narrative. Like I said, it's one actor, one person, in one room the entire time. If you think that's going to bore you, even though I think if you give it a chance, you would actually like it, you might want to steer clear. So if you find that to be boring, and you find that to be uninteresting, okay, step off, don't watch it. But I think you're going to miss out on something pretty good here. Overall, I definitely recommend Secret Honor. I think it's an interesting film. It's a film that when I stopped watching it, I definitely enjoyed. But as time moved on, I appreciated it more and more, specifically with the performance of Philip Baker Hall. I really have to point this out. At no point was I ever bothered by the performance of Philip Baker Hall. At no point was I saying like, oh, this clearly wouldn't be Richard Nixon. I believed it. He may not look and act 100% like Nixon, but I believe the character he was playing could be a representation of Richard Nixon. And I think it was a really good performance by Philip Baker Hall in this. I think the story is different and it's interesting in its own way. And if you are into films that do very different things with narratives, I think you should definitely check this out. So overall, I definitely recommend Secret Honor by Robert Altman. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it is right now for rent $4 on Amazon, but it's on the Criterion channel, which is where I watched it. So if you have the Criterion channel, check it out. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. All right, so for the rest of the week, Thursday, me and Zero are going to continue the 007 debriefings with Diamonds Are Forever. And on Saturday, Kim and I are going to watch the film Failsafe, starring Henry Fonda and Walter Matthau. Tuesday is going to be a new week, and the theme for next week is going to be Elizabeth Taylor's birthday week. So for her birthday week, we're going to watch some films that she starred in, and I'm going to start with a film that I've wanted to see. It's got a really good cast. It's also long as hell. Good Lord. It's almost 4 hours. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's Giant. Giant is a film that I've wanted to see. It's with Rock Hudson, James Dean, and Elizabeth Taylor. I've wanted to see it for a while, and why not? Since we're doing Elizabeth Taylor movies, let's check this movie out. Tune in next time. We're on Thursday. Me and Zero do the 007 debriefings with Diamonds Are Forever. Saturday, Kim and I do Failsafe. And Tuesday, I will review Giant. I am The Wiz, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.